Can my screen be seen? Can, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Raymond and I'm from GovTech. Welcome to the TradeTrust Tech webinar series. This is part 3 of the series. Today we will be covering on the creation of transferable documents, right? So before we go ahead, let's start by looking at what you are going to create today and also what is a transferable document record to start with, right? So in the previous tech webinar, you would have learned how to create what you call a verifiable document. So what's the difference between a verifiable document and a transferable record? So this is a verifiable document, right? A verifiable document, you see the document being printed, you see where it's being issued from, you see that the checks has been performed, that it has not been tampered with, that it has been issued, that the issuer has been identified, and in this case, the organization controlling OpenTestation.com. All right. So this is verifiable document. You have learned it in webinar 3, right? Today in webinar 4, what we are going to learn is creating a transferable record. How a transferable record is going to look different is it's going to look something like this, right? So what you're looking at is something that resembles EBL, electronic bill of lading, right? So some of the fields are left blank, right? And it can be owned by someone. And there are things like the endorsement chain on who are the people that owns this, this certain cargo or this certain goods previously, right? So this is what a transferable document look like. And in this case, you can see that this one has been surrendered and gone back to the shipping line, right? So for today, in your exercise, what we are going to learn is we are going to learn how to create this one, right? I'm just going to switch network for the purpose of this webinar, right? TradeTrust is actually supported on 3 major Ethereum network right now. Of course, number 1 is mainnet or home state as you call it. Number 2 is that Robston. So if you want to connect to mainnet, this is the URL, tradetrust.io, simple as that, right? If you want to connect to Robston, just append a def. This is the subdomain to connect to Robston. The third one is actually Rinkeby, right? Today we are just going to work on Rinkeby because it's somewhat more stable and faster than Robston, right? But still a testnet, all right? So both Rinkeby and Robston are both testnet, only the home seed is the mainnet. All right, so today we are going to cover this thing, this certificate. We are going to learn how to create this, right? You might be very familiar with this view because in webinar 3, you have learned how to create this, this view over here that we have hosted it for you, okay? And from here, you can see that this is similar to the previous EBL that we have seen. There's actually a beneficiary, there's the holder, and I can actually connect my wallet. And in this case, you can see the beneficiary is E712. And in this case, if I have the wallet accessing E712, right, I can actually connect and I can manage the asset. That means I can endorse it and change the beneficiary and holder to someone else, right? So we are not going to go through the flow first, right? Now that we understood the difference between a verifiable document and a transferable record, right? Let's get started with creating a transferable record, given the knowledge that you know how to create a verifiable document already. So you might need to refer to webinar 3 if you haven't got that. For the agenda today, we'll be doing a quick recap on what's verifiable document and the overall architecture over creation of verifiable document, right? And then we'll see what's the difference between that and transferable records in terms of the architectural difference and what you need to deploy or what do you need to manage. From there, we'll start off with an empty working directory, right? So that everyone can kind of follow along, not during the session, but actually after the session, where you can play and pause the video as and when as you want, right? Then after that, we will deploy this thing called a token registry contract, and then we will bind the identity, and we will deploy another contract to establish the relationship between the holder and the beneficiary, right? So in the case of a transferable record, very often we talk about a joint ownership between 2 entities, right? A beneficiary and a holder. Why? right? So think of the physical world. When you go to a physical world, let's talk about, let's say, a title deed or a bill of lading. On the title deed or bill of lading, there is actually a printed or legal designated a name that is the legal owner, right? Let's say the legal owner is Raymond, okay? But this piece of paper can be held under escrow or under the custody of someone else, right? Let's say I left it to a bank, right? While the beneficiary, which is the legal owner, is Raymond, the holder is now the bank. So this contract actually established the joint ownership or the joint relationship between these two parties where we are both escrowed against each other, right? And then after that, we'll complete by issuing the transferable record and we'll play around with it. After which we'll do a quick poll, right? Just to help you establish the understanding of what you have learned during the entire session. And also for a good time for me to clear up some misunderstandings or frequent Q&A. So feel free at any point in time to actually insert your question in the Q&A of the Zoom session, right? I'll get to it when I can or when I feel that it's appropriate. If not, I will leave it to the end of the Q&A. All right. So before we proceed, right, if you are a learner who's not so used to videos and you prefer reading like myself, right, there's actually the entire series of this webinar is actually found over here as well on Open Attestation under Transferable Record, right? We'll be going through this entire list of this different steps during this webinar. So it's almost going to be exactly like what it is over there, right? You need the command, you can go there and print it out, all right? Okay, so prerequisite for today's session, right? You got to know how to deploy a document store from Webinar 3, as well as configuring a DNS to bind the identity, as well as using the CLI to batch the document, right? And also, if you want to learn how to customize the look and feel, right, that's also in Webinar 3 as well, okay? So let's do a quick recap of verifiable document, right? This is what we learned in Webinar 3, okay? When I have a verifiable document file, right, in a JSON format.
Webinar 2, the previous
sorry,
session.
yes, yeah. Webinar 2. Thanks, Pei. So in Webinar 2, you learn about this creating this document file, right? It's a .tt file, but it's in fact read as a JSON file format, right? What happens, right? Behind the JSON file, when you read it inside a viewer, right? When you drop it into a website like the TradeTrust viewer, right? What it does is that it goes into the decentralized renderer and render out the view, right? So this is the view, the visuals. So the visuals is not stored inside the code. It tells you where to render it, right? Also, in the same document, it says that what is the smart contract on Ethereum that stores the proof.issuance, right? So in the document itself, it will say, hey, the smart contract is XXX. I'll go to smart contract XXX and check whether it is being issued there. And because anyone in the world can actually perform these actions of creating a smart contract, so we can't establish who it is just yet. So the last step is actually to use the DNS to bind an identity to the smart contract, in which I go to the DNS record, let's say imda.gov.sg, and say that imda.gov.sg hereby says that smart contract XXX is a smart contract of imda.gov.sg. Therefore, all documents issued from this document store can use our domain name imda.gov.sg. Right? In this case, we are using a sandbox domain. You have also learned how to use this sandbox domain in the previous webinar. Right? So this is the recap from the previous webinar. What changed? This changed. Instead of the document store, right, we are going to yank out this document store. We are no longer using this document store. Instead of the document store, we replace it with a token registry contract. So what is a token registry contract? A token registry contract actually is a mapping, right, from a document ID to the owner, right? Recall that the document ID is also known as the Merkle root or also known as the target hash in the case, right? It's a universally unique hash, right, to a document. And when I map it to another address, it says that document, let's say we give it a number, document 123 is owned by this user who is 8888. And now the 8888 actually refers to a smart contract. So there is also another smart contract called the title escrow contract. And this is the one that established the joint relationship between two parties. The beneficiary, right, which is the legal owner, as well as the holder, which is the person in physical possession of the paper, right, in the physical world, of course. So in this case, there are a few addresses to be taken care of, to be noted. Number one is your token registry contract. In this case, it's represented by all fives, right? That is similar to your document store, okay? And then there's another address called, which is the series of eights, right? This is actually the title escrow contract. It's not a human, right? It's not a what you call an externally owned account, EOA, right? Instead, it is a smart contract as well. The only two humans over here is the beneficiary and holder. So 2222 and 3333 are two separate persons, right? In this case. So this is the difference between a token registry, a transferable record and a document, a verifiable document from an overview perspective. So let's start today with an empty working directory, right? Before we do, right, we need to make sure that you have your open attestation CLI installed, right? Refer to the documentation or webinar to get that, right? We'll start with a empty directory and we'll create a key file called key.txt with a private key. So prior to this seminar, I've actually set up the wallet, right? So it's this one. Over here, it says webinar disposable account, right? E72I, all right? To get the private key, I simply just go to account details, click on it, export private key, right? Enter my password, confirm, right? This is my private key that I'm going to use today. Don't use my private key, although I'm going to throw it away. Generate your own, okay? So that's my key that I'm going to use today. We are going to go into an empty directory. So I have set up an empty one, ls, you can, not this one. CD webinar, right? So you can see my webinar directory is empty. This is my webinar directory. So we are going to start with a new file called key.txt. That's it. Paste in your private key, right? Remember, don't put in any trailing spaces or enters, just the private key itself will do. Save it, right? So there should be only one liner, right? So this is your private key. This is your entire workspace. So at the moment, you can only see one key file over here, right? So that is your working directory setup for today. First of all, we need to deploy our token registry. So recall the token registry is actually the mapping of a given token or EBL or title escrow to a owner, right? To do that, we actually run this command, right? Open attestation, deploy token registry, right? So before that, you need to have your open attestation CLI ready. So I have it already. So if you type in like version, you should be seeing at least, you should be using at least the newest version, which is 1.25. By the time you visit this video again, it could be different. So just make sure you have the newest one installed. All right. So yes, let's run the command now, right? I'm going to break down this command for you. So let me create a new text file first. So I'm going to make this bigger. So what does this mean? If you don't know what does the command do, you can actually type the front part of the command and it can tell you what is it trying to do. So open attestation, it deploys a smart contract. So in this case, if we want to deploy a token registry, so you can read where is it? Okay, so open attestation, deploy token registry. It says it deploys a token registry on the blockchain. And you need two parameters, which is the registry name and registry symbol. So this is actually the registry name. This is the registry symbol. So a symbol is just a 3-character kind of thing of acronym. Some organizations like acronym, right? So acronym of the entire name. And then afterwards, you have a few options, right? So the options is also like the network switch and where is the private key, right? So we are going to do that. So I'm going to call my registry, my token registry. The short form is MTR. Like I say, today we are using Rinkeby, RINKEBY. right? And the key file is key.txt, which is in the same folder. If it's in another folder, then you got to add in the path like / and then like another folder and then something like that. All right. So this would be the command for myself. Yours might look slightly different. Okay. So at this point in time, it's going to deploy the token registry. Okay. So at the same time, let's keep a note, right? Notes.md. So I'm going to keep a note of all the things that we are doing right now. So information. So the first thing that I've deployed is actually the token registry. So I need the token registry address because my CLI is going to give me that. So when you see this green tick, you can see that token registry deployed at this address, right? So I need this address later. Okay, so if you want to see more information, I can click on the link and it brings you to Rinkeby Etherscan and shows you that a contract has indeed been created. Okay, great. So now we have that. I'm going to throw this away. We are going to use these notes for now. All right, let's go back here. We have created this contract over here on the blockchain, right? What's next? Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to bind the identity. So in this case, for demonstration purposes, we actually provide you a Sandbox DNS, right? But in actual fact, you got to configure your own DNS to say that, in this case, let's say IMDA.gov.sg is the one issuing this. Because if I'm just going to open this document and I see that, hey, it's just some Sandbox URL, it doesn't look legit. It's as though as you are going to dbsss.com.sg and trying to do your bank transfer. It's not right, okay? So to establish yourself as an entity, you got to use your domain name that your customers or people that you work with can relate to, okay? This is not relatable, this is junk, right? Don't use this in production, okay? So over here, we are going to use the CLI again, right? To create a Sandbox DNS. When you do this for live, don't use the Sandbox DNS because it expires in 24 hours, right? But in this demonstration, we are just going to use the Sandbox DNS. So let's break down this, right? We are using the command again. We are going to the DNS menu, create a text record with the address, right? So this is your smart contract address. So naturally, I want to replace it with the token registry that I've just created. The last one is network ID. So it's 3 right now. What should you be using, right? So there's a few network ID that you need to know. Number 1 is homestead, which is also known as mainnet, right? Mainnet. Okay, number 3 is actually your test network called Robston. Number 4 is actually Rinkeby. So in this case, we are on Rinkeby. That's why we are using network ID number 4. So we're just going to create this, run it. Okay, and very quickly it says that I've created a record. So right now, my organization name, right, is actually this. Right? It could be tech.gov.sg, right? If my system admin actually allows me to use that domain name, right? But for today, because it's a demo, right, we're just going to use a DNS that doesn't even make sense, right? Because, well, it doesn't need to be issued of authority. So right now we have established this link. So if you go to dns.google.com, right, and enter this URL right now, so naturally it's going to be your domain name, and we look up the text record. Okay, you can see the text record has been created. This domain says that this contract is myself, right? So the next one, let's create a transferable document already. So things are getting exciting. We are going to create it in this folder called raw documents. So create a new folder called raw document. Okay. In this case, I'm just going to copy all of this. Okay. Over here, you have learned in the previous webinar, this is how I render it. We are using the tutorial renderer, and these are all the information that we need. And the issuer is about you, right? Notice the difference between the previous webinar and this. Instead of a document store, we are using a token registry. And of course, we still need the identity proof. So we got to change this and this, right? So I'm going to create a new document over here, new one. Let's call it sample.json and paste it there, right? So recall that we have to change two things. One is the token registry, which is the one that I've just deployed. Two is the identity proof, which is using this location over here that I've just established as well. So it's no longer a few green cats, but instead a particular walrus. Okay, great. So now I have this document, right? So this document anyone can create. You know, if I'm the legit owner of the walrus domain, right? Doesn't someone who's not the legit owner of the walrus domain can still create it, right? But next thing we are going to do is we are going to wrap it, right? So this actually gives you this. So in this case, the directory is a bit off, raw documents. So in this case, it gives you a unique, globally unique Merkle root or a document ID, right? In this case, this is going to be inserted into the token registry later to say who is the owner. So I'm going to put here, this is my document ID, or otherwise known as Merkle root, right? It's used interchangeably in the case of transferable records. All right, so now I have this, right? You'll see a new directory being created, wrap documents. If I open it up, I see a sample JSON. It will look similar to my previous file, kind of, you know, all the fields are still there, but a lot of more chunks. And at the end, you can see this Merkle root is the same value as the one that has been printed over here. Okay, so this is globally unique. That means other than this particular document, you'll not see this anymore. So at this point in time, let's take a look at what happens if I drag and drop this file inside. All right, so if I open this in the folder and put it in, you see an error that says that document is not issued. So that's what we are going to do now. Because up to this point in time, a malicious actor who is not the owner of the walrus domain, right, can still get up to this point, which is to create the fake document, right? But it's still not issued by the legit actor, right? So, but before we do, we need to first establish the joint ownership because I need two accounts to own it. So in this case, I am going to say that I myself is going to own both. I'm going to use this domain, this wallet, right? So in this case, my beneficiary and holder, both of them are going to be this. Okay, so how do I establish this relationship between myself and myself? Okay, so I take this command, change this to RNKB again, RNKBY, all right? And that B stands for beneficiary. I'm going to change B to beneficiary. H is for holder, change it to myself. R is token registry, change it to here. All right. So now I have a command. So if you want to know what's what, right? You don't have to remember, just type the front part of it and it'll tell you that, you know, B is beneficiary, H is holder, and R is token registry. So you don't have to remember. Okay, you can actually get it from the CLI itself. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it. So what this does, remember, is to deploy the title escrow that established the relationship between E712 and E712 as the beneficiary and holder respectively. So the output of this command is naturally going to be title escrow address, right? That this is actually known as the joint ownership contract. Okay, so at this point in time, you'll see the title escrow being deployed. This is the title escrow address. If I'm curious, I can actually go to here and read what's that. Okay, so now I've established that beneficiary and holder is. It's time that I join everything together, right? So to join everything together, I'm going to issue the transferable record because at this point in time, if I'm going to drag and drop the previous file inside, the one in here, webinar, wrap document, it is still not issued, right? Well, simply because I have not issued it. This last step actually issues it on the token registry. We have created this, The last part is to insert this single record over here, you see, 0xBBB to XXX, except that this is the document ID that you have just created, and this is the title escrow contract that you have just deployed, right? So we are going to make use of this command. It looks scary, but it isn't. Let's break it down for you. Okay, so what does this command do? It says that go to the token registry and issue something. A is address, token ID is your Okay, let's start by filling it up. So document ID is this one, right? So this is where you want to issue it to. It's your title escrow, and this is your token registry address. So I've changed this, and this. Network, right? Rinkaby. If you're on, if you want to deploy to mainnet, just forget the end flag altogether, right? So this is the command that we are going to run to finish the last step. Okay. And by the time I finish this, you'll see that the document that we have created earlier, right, the same document that we have created earlier will then be issued. Okay, so let's wait a while. So remember, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to just type into the Q&A. I do take a quick glance at the Q&A from time to time. Okay, so right now you see success, right? So how do you know it's successful? You go to Rinkaby, same document, just drag and drop it again. Ta-da, done, right? Beneficiary is me, holder is also me, right? Done. So let's start by playing around with it. Okay, what's so fun about transferable record is that it can be owned by different people and you can transfer it around within seconds. So let's say over here, this is a company in Singapore and I want to transfer it to a company in, let's say, Indonesia, right? And Indonesia, my counterparty is 0x8E8, right? So I'm just going to log back into my current account. Not this. My current account, this disposable one, right? And I can click on manage assets and I change the beneficiary to both my Indonesia counterparty and click on endorse. So naturally it will tell me, hey, confirm this transaction or not? I say yes, and not just yes, but make it fast, all right? And then it will go onto the blockchain, right? And then we'll wait a couple of seconds. So generally block confirmation time is about 20 seconds, okay? But Rinkaby tend to be a bit faster and more suitable for webinar kind of setting. So we're just gonna wait for a while over here. So recall this, you see? We can see the particular walrus is the issuer right now. Okay, so my transaction has been confirmed. And when I'm logged in into the previous account, right, I have no access to this to this document anymore, right? Instead, when I log into the, let's say the Indonesia counterparty's account, right? Was it this 08x8? 1 second, right? So if I'm logged into this one, and I'll do just a quick refresh on this, right? Sample.json. So this was the address that I'm sending it to. Network is a bit slow right now. Right, so 8E8, and when I connect, I can now transfer holdership, right? I can actually do the change of both beneficiary and holder, and I can also surrender it and it goes back to the carrier or the issuer of this document. If I'm curious who are the previous owners, I can click on view endorsement chain and it'll just tell me, hey, previously it was owned by these addresses, right? Okay, because all the information and histories are available on the blockchain. It's just that you may not know who is this entity, right? Unless they already tell you who it is. Okay, so now we have played with the transferable record. Let's start by playing a game, right? To establish like you know, what you have learned during this session. So I'm going to start a quick poll, right? Please go ahead and scan this QR code. You'll get to a page where you can join the poll, right? This is a good time for you to see whether you have understood this session or not, right? So I'm going to start the poll now. First question, right? You'll see on your phone, right? The poll will start already, okay? How is a transferable record different from a verifiable document? I'm just going to put this beside here. 1 second, so that you can actually see the QR code if you have not joined. Okay, so go ahead and vote on one of these 3 options. The first one is that for transferable record, the identity cannot be traced, right? Unlike a verifiable document. So pardon me because there's actually a word limit to how long I can put the answers. So I'll try to keep it short. Second option is transferable record has an owner, while verifiable document doesn't. Third one is transferable records are tamper-proof. while the other one, which is verifiable document, the one that we create today, is not, right? So I see 11 participants, good. So indeed, it is correct that transferable records have an owner while your verifiable document does not. So the other two property, this is actually known as provenance. So for both types of document, the property of provenance exists, right? The other one is called integrity. So provenance and integrity are both a common feature of both types of document. Good job. So let's go on to the next question. So on your phone, you'll see the next question pop up. I think this is a multi-select one. No, single select, right? So what is the component that is not needed to support a transferable record, right? So there are a few options. Don't look at the answer first, just think what it is, right? Click on the one that you feel is the answer and go on and vote on it. Okay, so votes are coming in. Okay, great. So first one is a DNS record, second one is an Ethereum account, third one is a token registry contract, fourth document store, fifth title escrow contract. Okay, great, cool. Okay, seeing about 8 participants now. Okay, let's look through. Okay, the majority of you voted on document store contract. That is true. So we covered in the very front part of it, right? So recall in transferable record, I say that we will swap out the document store. Right, I'm just going to make this slightly bigger for you. So we are going to swap out the document store, and instead we will deploy the token registry contract, which is this. Okay, so the right answer is actually there is no document store contract. It is not needed. For the funded Ethereum account, you still need a funded Ethereum account. So in this case, when we are on Rinkeby, we get the Rinkeby ethers. So you do need to have funds inside a legit account on the correct network to even deploy the smart contract. Okay, while it is a test net, right, you still need the fake ethers. All right, good job, everyone. Okay, now to the third question. Which of these networks are supported by TradeTrust? It's a multi-select. It's a multi-select one. You can go ahead and vote on this. Okay. So I get a question from Nicolay. I'll get to you very shortly after the poll, right? Okay. So getting about 9 participants now. Okay, great. So very proud to announce to you that TradeTrust is actually on all 3 of these networks, right? If you have an Ethereum network that you want us to support, just let us know, right? In this case, when we first created TradeTrust is already on Mainnet and Robson, but another country actually requested for us to be on Rinkeby as well. So we have been on Rinkeby as well, right? So the different URLs to that is tradetrust.io, that's for Mainnet, right? dev.tradetrust.io for Robson, right? And then Rinkeby.tradetrust.io for Rinkeby, right? Very simple. Next one. Okay, so in this case, now you are a bad guy, very bad guy, and you are trying to masquerade, let's say, a legit company like IMDA, IMDA.gov.sg. Which of these 4 actions can you not perform? Right? Can you deploy a token registry contract? Can you open up the OA, open the taxation tool and deploy your contract? Can you bind the DNS of IMDA to your token registry? Can you actually issue a transferable record? Can you create a title escrow? Which of this you can't do? Right? I'm getting about 6 votes now. Right? Correct. Okay. A malicious actor can perform everything except that they don't own the domain or the identity that is the legit one. So in this case, let's say imda.gov.sg. A malicious actor does not own imda.gov.sg. Neither can he, let's assume he cannot get the people behind the DNS to actually issue, to create the proof, right? This actor cannot bind the DNS identity, right, to the token registry. Can he issue transferable record? Technically, he can, because in this case, I can create my own token registry. I can issue my transferable record to this token registry. But here's the problem. The problem is that this token registry is not bounded to, let's say, IMDA. So I cannot fake a document coming out from IMDA. So this poll actually also answers Nicolay's question, right? If you see the Q&A, you see the question of how the system helps you verify that you're a legit owner of the DNS. So just now I've shown you, right? When we look up the DNS, we are actually looking for the proof. So in this case, we are looking at this particular copper walrus. So in this case, you can try, you are now the malicious actor, right? I give you $100, right? If you can insert a record over here that says that another token registry that is not mine, right? You can actually find the identity. All right, so you can't unless you own this domain, right? Do you own this domain? No, right? Unless you are one of the team members of my team, then you can actually append this record. So $100 does not apply to any of my teammates, right? So yes, this is how we establish the relationship. Okay, Nicole, I hope I answer your question. Next poll. Great job, everyone. Okay, can I have more than one account issuing documents on token registry? So over here, we see that the creator of the token registry, right, can issue it, can create a document, right? Can someone else also create the document, right? Yes, no, it depends. One answers. Okay, getting about 3 participants now. Can someone else other than, my token the owner of the token registry or issue it? So in this case, it could be a legit use case. Let's say I'm a big shipping line. I am Maersk. I have offices around the world. Let's say I have 80 different offices around the world. Can I have 80 different accounts, or let's say 200 accounts issuing to one token registry? Can I? All right. So let's take a look at the answers. In fact, the answer is it depends, right? It depends on how you like it. It can be a yes if you want it to be. It can be a no if you want it to be, right? Why? It depends, right? The feature of this is that the token registry contract can have a single owner, right? That means owned by only a single entity can create a transaction on this contract. But here's the thing, the entity behind the contract can be what we know as a multi-sig wallet. So I'm just going to introduce a few concepts for those of you who want a bit of challenge. So if you want to look at multi-sig wallet, right, you just search for it, multi-sig wallet, right? Genesis has a very good multi-sig wallet that allows multiple people, multiple entities, right, to control a single wallet, which in turn control the token registry. So you can actually have multiple accounts issuing to one token registry. You can, right? This is one implementation of it. Another implementation of it, MakerDAO, right, has this thing called a DS proxy. So it is a proxy identity contract, which allows multiple people to issue into a smart contract. So you can, if you want to, right? The next question is, should I have my user deal with the wallet or smart contract directly? Should I give my private key to, let's say I'm a shipping line, I'm Maersk, I'm a big company, right? At any one point in time, I have 500 employees that need to create documents. Should my 500 employee deal with the wallet or smart contract directly? And to do that, of course, they need the private key. Should I? Right? Take your time to vote. I'm just going to look at Q&A for a while. Okay, those are very good questions. I'll get to that later. Okay, great. So should my user deal with the wallet or smart contract directly? So the answer is actually it depends because, TradeTrust does not tell you what to do. You can really do what you want to do. It depends. Whether it is a yes or no, it's up to you. My personal opinion, no, it shouldn't, right? It is the same logic as if I have a database, my SQL database, right? When you have a web app in front of it, there's like a username and password to the database. Should I give this username and password of my SQL database to all my users who is accessing it? No, I don't think I like that. No, I don't think so. But let's say you're a small trader firm and you really don't have time to deal with your own custom software, you don't procure something like that. Can you use it directly? Yes, you can, right? In this case, this is a direct use case where I use the wallet and connect directly to the smart contract and deal with it directly. So yes, you can, right? But do you want to? That's up to you, right? So there's 4 addresses here. All of them look exactly like it. Which of these are smart contract addresses? You can select multiple one. All right. 4 of them, which of these are smart contract addresses? The 2 that you don't select, of course, are, well, what you call as externally owned account. Okay, so getting a bit of answers in. Okay, good. All right, we can look at the overview. Okay, so I'm getting about 8 answers now. Great. So the answer is actually just right on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay, token registry contract, in this case 0x5555. This is the token registry, this one, right? It is a smart contract address. That means it's not owned by, it doesn't have a private key. The next one, title escrow contract, this one, right? 0x8888. It is also a smart contract address. So majority of you are correct. The beneficiary, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be smart contract addresses. It's usually what you call an EOA, externally owned account. That means there's a private key. There's someone who can create a transaction from there directly. Okay, so beneficiary and holder are not necessarily smart contract. Can they be smart contract? Yes. No one's telling you no, right? So all of you are correct. The 38 and 50% of you are more correct. Okay, next up, which of these are not stored on the transferable record file itself? Before you vote, it is the file, right? The .tt file or the .json file. I'm going to show you what it is. This one, not this one, but this one, right? Okay, so I'll leave you on the screen. Which of it are not stored here? I'm just going to bring the answers right here for you. Okay, a bit small, but try to deal with it. So there's many options, multiple select a few, submit the answers. Which of these are not present in this file? Right, getting about 3 participants. I'm going to wait a while more. You can look at the file. Okay. Right, getting 3 participants. Just wait for maybe 1 or 2 more participants to come in. Right, getting 5. Great job. Okay, so okay, let's run through it. I'm just going to move this side by side so that you can actually see it. Okay, let's take a look. A few things. I'm going to go through one by one and tell you whether it is stored or not stored. Okay, so is there a globally unique document ID? Yes. The Merkle root or the target hash of a transferable record file itself is the globally unique document ID. The target hash, Merkle root, globally unique document ID that is on the token registry, sama-sama, same. Next, is the code to render the data visually there? No. Instead, it is a reference to say that, okay, you'll go to tutorialrenderer.openattestation.com, put all of this data in there and see what comes out of it. Right? In this case, what comes out of it is a trophy. Is there a trophy over here? No, there's no trophy. Right? Is there a do you find the word congratulations here? No. So in fact, the way it is presented and the data that is used for the presentation, right, is separate, right? And we don't store the code for presenting it there. Where's my poll? Okay, next. Address of the beneficiary and holder, right? It is not stored. Where is it stored, right? I look up this document ID in this token registry over here, right? It is stored on the smart contract. You see, this is the contract that tells you the token registry contract, which gives you the beneficiary and holder, right? Does it give the domain name? Yes, it does actually. It is stored here. So you see particular copper walrus, it is here. Does it tell you the token registry that is being used? Yes, over here. Does it give you the private key? No. So no private key of the creator is here. Transaction history? Also no. It is also on the token registry contract itself. And even so, it is not stored there in the case of a state, but in the event that it has emitted previously, right? So thank you very much. We have come to the end of the poll, right? So I'm just going to the Q&A section. I have two Q&A. Just go right there first, and then we'll hand you back to Pei-Yen, who will finish up the rest for you. Let me just move this around. Great. So thank you very much for the participation, right? I'll do a quick demo of what you'll be expecting in webinar 5, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like, wow, so many steps to issue a transferable record, xiao liao, right? No. Okay. So at the end of the day, the setup is hard, but after the setup, you could actually get your user to use a web app, something like this, right? Over here, you upload a configuration file. You'll learn how to do that in webinar 5, right? Let's use Rinkeby. Config Rinkeby, right? And enter password, right? So this is like your staff entering the password, logging into a system, issue a bill of lading, issue to who? Issue to myself, right? Click here, beneficiary holder, I give you my BL number, right? Issue, da-da, right? No smart contract, no MetaMask, no nothing, right? Just plain web app. There is no MetaMask or private key that your staff have to deal with. The configuration file itself has the things set up so that people who doesn't know smart contract, private key, so on and so forth, but they know username and password, the SaaS platform, can actually perform the actions, right? There you go. So I'm just going to save that, and then I'll go to Rinkeby, drop it in, come on. Right, take this, drop it in. Same, right? Straight away, I can create this thing, and the beneficiary and holder, if I have the wallet, I can connect and manage the assets. It can be as easy as that. You want to learn how? Go to webinar 5. All right, so I'm going to Q&A section, right? I have two questions which are highly similar. So the first one from Hitesh Joshi, are the contracts meta transaction enabled and used with relayers? Trade participants would not want to hold ethers. The contracts are not written with meta transaction enabled. We can, right? If you like to make a pull request to make it meta transaction enabled, feel free, right? Or let us know if you really need it. We'll add it into the pipeline. We can add it, right? So from Zaini, same thing. Can the link between token registry and title escrow go through a middleman smart contract, such as a ERC 721 shield contract? Yes, you can, right? Of course, it's up for you to design. I'm not sure if you want to elaborate what are you trying to achieve, right? By doing this, right? If you want to, you can actually type it in or just raise your hand and let me know, okay? So I think that is both the answers. So Zaini, if you would like to elaborate, would you like to elaborate on what you are trying to achieve? So maybe like we can go through it. Would you like to talk, Zaini?
Zaini, would you like to speak?
You can type into the chat, or you can raise your hand or create another Q&A, up to you. Yeah, okay. Maybe let me enable you to speak. Right, Zaini, you can unmute and speak now if you like to.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so what I'm trying to do is privatize the information that's going through the blockchain
Oh,
through
sorry,
my...
I think my speaker is muted, sorry. Could you repeat again?
So what I'm trying to do is to privatize the information that's going through the blockchain through my ERC 721 shield contract, which uses the ZKP images in Docker to privatize all the information going through. So is there a way that I can link the token registry and the title escrow to hide the minting, who's the beneficiary, who's the holder of all this that can go through my contract?
Would you like to bring me through what are the information you are trying to hide? You are trying to hide the minting?
I'm trying to hide the who's sending it, who's receiving it, and the beneficiary and holder through of the smart contract.
Right. So it really depends on the level of privacy that you're trying to obtain. For one, the blockchain is using a pseudonyms already, and the title escrow are all just one use. So every time you have a new relationship between a beneficiary and a holder, this is unique and it can't be traced back again, even if the same beneficiary and holder is there. That's one. Number two, your beneficiary and holder are already pseudonyms. You can do the rotation of identity at the wallet level as well. Number three, you can actually use things like zero knowledge proof to provide a shield. Unfortunately, right now we don't have that enabled, right? If you do have a contract or a way of doing it, you can actually suggest to us. If you want, you can hold a separate session with the developers on my team. We can listen to how you would like to implement it. We have a few ideas also. It's just that at this point in time, my general concern is that the industry is not ready, right? We are not ready for something that is a lot more complex. Can we do it at a technical level? Yes, we can, right? But are the industry ready? Because for you to achieve this level of privacy in terms of using zero knowledge proof and having the beneficiary and holder have the wallet in a private setting, they don't have to rotate their address, but yet having the ability to have their linkage with the ownership being privatized. It requires a separate channel of information being transmitted, such that, let's say, when I, Raymond, would like to send Zaini electronic bill of lading, EBL, right? Other than performing it on the blockchain, other than sending you the file itself, I do need to send you a few pre-image or a few the proof or the inputs to the proof, right? Such that you can prove, Zaini, you can prove that the transaction indeed has existed and you are the new owner of it.
Right.
Right. So I'm not sure if the industry is ready for such complex relationship. You have one on the blockchain, you have one on the document level, and you have one on the zero knowledge proof level, right? Are there software returns that allows you to do this? Yes, you know, Zcash has done a really good job in terms of the client software that they have made. It's quite a lot of work there, all right? And it requires everyone to use that client software, okay? I don't think we have reached this level of global consensus where everyone is like, hey, I really love this, we are going to go with this, and we really love the zero knowledge proof idea. Let's put a lot more funds into it and do it. Can you do it? Yes. Yes. Right. But if you have any ideas of how to do it, right, talk to the team over here. Just send us an email. We'd like to, you know, bring through the discussion, at least at an intellectual level, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that function now currently.
Yeah. Thanks, huh?
Thank you.
Right. So another one from Hitesh. In a negotiable bill of lading, can there be multiple holders in which may not be known at the time of the smart contract? Yes. Right. So at the end of this contract is actually just the owner of this title registry contract, right? Can you have 50 people managing this contract? Yes, you can. You just have to write this one. In the case of TradeTrust, we just provide you a standard template of how the escrow relationship should look like. All right. If you don't think that accurately represents what is happening in the real world, two ways. One, you write your own contract. Two, talk to the team again, right, to see what have we misrepresented, or is there anything that the team can do better to represent the real relationship in the industry. All right. So I think it's 11 right now. We have exceeded by 10 minutes or so. I'm just going to hand back to Pei-Yan. If you have more questions, just drop us an email or open a pull request on our GitHub, right, on the repository that you'd like to have questions or improvements on. Let us know.